Okay, and once again, welcome to VaporLegacy.com. In this video, what I'll be showing you is how to change your atomizer head and how to refill your tank with more e-liquid or new e-liquid. So first we'll start with changing out the atomizer head, and there's a couple ways you can do this. It's a little bit messier once you've used e-liquid and gotten it in there, so there's a few different ways. If this is a new tank or you're going to clean out your tank completely, the first thing you want to start off by doing is removing the tank from the battery and collar. So that way all you're left with is the actual tank, like so. So we'll get the battery out of the way here. Now, first thing you really want to make sure you do, if there's already e-liquid in your tank, unscrew the top, put it aside, and make sure that you dump out any e-liquid that you may have. Of course, you could dump that out into a sink or into a cup and then throw it out. Just make sure it's in a safe place somewhere away from kids and where you're not going to leave a mess behind after you're done. If you do have all the e-liquid out and you feel like cleaning your tank, then you could take out the bottom piece, and now you're left with your tank over here with the top and just the actual atomizer and atomizer head, which is this part here that has the wicks and this little rubber stopper, I guess we could call it. Now, once you've done that, you could take this rubber stopper off of the atomizer head, and if you look closely, it almost fits a flathead screwdriver, so you could use that to unscrew it. Me personally, I just use my nail. I put it in between this little indent here, and your atomizer head will screw right off. So you're left with this. Here's your atomizer head. Now, some people like rinsing this with water just on the tips and then patting it down with a paper towel. You can do that, but I will not guarantee that it will continue working after that. So me personally, I just switch them out. They usually last me 2 to 4 weeks depending on how often I'm using it. So, you know, it varies, but typically 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes even more, will be the life of your atomizer head, which is this piece right here. So once you've taken that off, you could go ahead and get your new atomizer head, and again, 2 normally come with your kit on top of the one that's already in the tank with your kit, and you could simply grab that with the rubber stopper already on it. Make sure the wicks are out of the way, and just go ahead and screw it right back on. And make sure it's nice and snug. Sometimes when you change out your atomizer head, you'll put everything back together, and when you go to take a hit, you'll notice that you're getting nothing, no vapors coming. Typically, one of the reasons why that normally happens is because the atomizer head is not screwed on all the way, so make sure that goes on snug. The other reason is typically because this bottom part right here is not making full contact with the battery, so make sure you also screw that on all the way. That's typically why in some cases it'll be working, and then when you switch things out it doesn't. It's typically because of the contact of the atomizer head with the actual atomizer, or the bottom of the atomizer with the battery, and maybe you just didn't screw it in all the way. So check that first before anything else. Worst case scenario, you could always shoot us an email, and you could find that on the website, of course. Now, once your atomizer's head is on nice and snug, you could simply put the tank right back on, screw it in, and then you could put your top on, and you got yourself a brand new atomizer. Okay, so that's one of the ways you can do it. Another way, if you're in a rush and you don't want to take the whole thing apart and you're not looking to clean it, you could do almost the same. You just take the actual tank, leave the base on, no need to take it off, and you take off this little rubber stopper here, and if you got enough wiggle room in here, you could go ahead and just screw it off that way. And once you get it loose enough, you could actually just pick it right out of there. Now again, this way is a little bit trickier, but it does work, and you can do that, and then just get your new atomizer. And the tricky part about this is getting the wicks in without getting them in to the center of the atomizer, so that way they're still on the sides of your tank. But again, if you're in a rush and you don't want to take the whole thing apart, this is another way that you can do it. And honestly, even though it takes a little bit more work, It's not as messy. And again, I like using my nail, but it's very hard to do with that rubber stopper on there. So I do it without the stopper, and you can see it there. Okay, and then you could just put the stopper on when you're done. You got it all back on. This is very important, this rubber stopper here, because it makes contact with the top, so that way when you have everything put together, if you turn it upside down or lean it sideways, you don't have any leaks for the e-liquid, and that's what that rubber stopper is for. So it is important that you use it. But that's two different ways on how to take your atomizer head on and off, and again, typically they last 2 to 4 weeks for most people, and those are available on vaporlegacy.com. So moving on, we'll go ahead and we'll put our battery back on, and we'll go ahead, now that we got a new atomizer head in here, and put some new e-liquid. So we have our Vapor Legacy e-liquid here. We just got some of our Red Toro. Zero nicotine in this particular bottle, but the first thing you'll want to do is unscrew the top. And the most important thing about the e-liquid is to make sure you put it down the sides. You do not want to put it in the center. Now, some other places may recommend that that's a good idea. I personally don't like it. Sometimes you get a little snap, crackle, pop, and some e-liquid might end up on your tongue, and you definitely don't want that. But you simply just put it right here down the side. Fill it as much as you would like, but again, don't go past the top line. I personally like to keep it at around 2.10 most of the time. But as you can see, I just put it in there on the side. We put our top back on, and what I like to do is roll it around in circles, slightly upside down. It doesn't have to be completely upside down, but just a little angle to get the liquid going towards the top. And what we're doing here is getting those wicks nice and wet. Okay. Once you're all set up, most important part to remember is that A, your battery is on. So in this case, we're on. B, make sure you're holding the button down while you're taking a drag, while you're taking a vape hit. You can't just put your mouth up to it and take a hit like if it was a cigarette. You have to be holding the button down, and don't worry about how long you got to hold it down. If you hold it down for more than 10 seconds, it'll automatically shut off, so that way you don't burn out the battery. So again, you just take the top off, put your e-liquid down the side, and you're good to go. And depending on how frequently you use it will determine how long a tank lasts you. I mean, for some people it's only a day's worth, for some people it's 2 days worth, for some people it's a month. It all depends on who you are and how often you use it. But that's the basic and easiest way, in my opinion, to change your atomizer head and to refill your e-liquid. Just remember to hold down that button while you're taking the vape hit, and you'll definitely feel it and have a good taste, and from there you're good to go. Thanks again for watching. Any questions, you could always email us or give us a call.